今年的失业潮也好可怕。
This year's wave of unemployment in Chengdu is terrifying. Companies are laying off employees or cutting salaries, and almost all industries have reached saturation. Additionally, nearly 10 million graduates enter the job market every year, leading to fierce competition. Delivering food, driving for Didi, or even screwing bolts in factories. These jobs, which used to be the last resort for workers, are now being fiercely competed for by many people. Most people of the current and next generations grew up in good environments, studied for more than a decade, only to face the predicament of unemployment upon graduation. Therefore, some say that the watershed of life begins with your parents, and this statement is truly accurate. Nowadays, university graduates are everywhere. Can studying really change your fate? Can hard work truly lead to wealth? Over the past few years, even those with a slight bit of ambition have felt exhausted, and the employment environment will only worsen in the next 3 years. I'm not trying to create anxiety on purpose. Time will prove everything. Given the current employment situation, I have 3 suggestions. First, if your current job is relatively stable and you can receive your salary on time, do not resign lightly, especially not without having another job lined up. Earning money is not easy, and the next company may not be better than the one you're with now. Don't focus on what's in the pot, while still holding on to what's in the bowl. Secondly, if conditions allow, make sure to have a side job. As long as you have a place to live, don't rush to buy a house, especially if you want to get married. If your mother-in-law isn't pressuring you, renting is a good option. Lastly, you must change your consumption habits. Don't be brainwashed by capitalism. Save more, spend less. Especially for women, if you're earning 3,000 to 4,000 yuan a month, it might not even be enough to buy clothes, let alone cosmetics, bags, food, and entertainment.
I've already cried 5 times this month, and today I cried again, without even knowing why. Do you think I'm being too fragile? I don't have an appetite either. Today, I only ate 1 shumai, and it tasted awful. The pressure of living in Hangzhou is just too much. You have no idea how expensive rent is in Hangzhou. An extra balcony costs an additional 200 yuan. Adding a private bathroom costs another 200 yuan, and adding a private kitchen costs even more, another 200 yuan. The electricity bill is 1 yuan per kilowatt hour, and with this hot summer, running the air conditioner all night uses more than 10 kilowatt hours, costing over 10 yuan. That's more than 300 yuan per month. I can't even afford the electricity bill. Working in Hangzhou is both physically and mentally exhausting.
不是，上大学的时候也没人告诉我。
When I was in college, no one told me that life after graduation would be this poor. Now, my living expenses are even less than what I had each month in college. Today, I finally received my first paycheck ever, and I thought that, although it might not be much, at least it would be a bit more than my living expenses in college. It would allow me to buy something for my parents and bring some food to my grandparents. But when I saw the payslip, I felt like the sky was falling. After paying my rent, I'm left with just over 2,000 yuan. What does this mean, my friends? In Shanghai, living on just over 2,000 yuan a month, it's not even as good as my living standards in college. Can I really survive on this salary?
钱真的不好赚。
Money is really hard to earn. I work in a supermarket, and I make only 100 yuan for 10 hours of work a day. It's not even enough for food. 1 meal box costs 15 yuan, so I can only afford a bread to make do.
失望透了个大地。
I am feeling very disappointed. I majored in acting in college. I can't understand why, for those 16 performances, the base salary is only 600 renminbi, and I have to work from mid-April until June, nearly 2.5 months, with a daily rehearsal fee of only 100 renminbi. The total income for 2.5 months is just over 10,000 renminbi, while my monthly rent in Shanghai is over 4,000 renminbi. On top of that, with my daily expenses for food and drinks, this income is simply not enough to sustain my living. This industry has truly ruined me. I've always considered myself a hardworking and dedicated person, and after 10 years of this is the outcome. I now deeply regret enrolling in college and studying acting, and depleting myself for that so-called dream after graduation. If the salary had risen to 800 renminbi today, I wouldn't be so disappointed. Now I have decided not to stay in Shanghai any longer. Once I finish my current job, I'll take some time to go back home and move my stuff back. Otherwise, it's really going to shorten my life. I need to let myself go.
现在的物价有多离谱，你想都想不到。
Prices now are really outrageous. You might find it hard to imagine. I just went out to buy a few things. For example, I bought a watermelon that cost me 35 yuan. Current price of this watermelon is over 3 yuan per jean, and the watermelon weighs about 10 jean. Previously, this watermelon was at most 1 yuan per jean, but now it's risen to 3.5 yuan per jean. It's just ridiculously expensive. We are still in a fourth-tier city, and this price level is truly surprising. In addition, I bought a few bananas, which cost me 15 yuan in total. Now the price of bananas is 4 yuan per jean. Bananas used to be the cheapest fruit, but this year they have risen to 4 yuan per jean. I also bought some seaweed, which cost 25 yuan. Price of seaweed has now increased to 25 yuan per jean. Seaweed used to be very cheap, but I didn't expect it to be so expensive now. I also planned to buy some garlic, but I found that garlic is now 8 or 9 yuan per jean, which is too expensive for me to afford. Apart from the issue of prices, there is also the issue of wages. In our fourth-tier small town, the average wage is only between 1,800 to 2,000 yuan, with a maximum of about 3,000 yuan per month. With such high prices, it's impossible to support oneself, let alone a family. Some people even talk about having 3 children, but with such prices, it is simply unaffordable. Now I am very worried. Prices continue to rise, we might not even be able to meet basic living needs. How are the prices where you are? Is there an upward trend? Here, the price of meat has now risen to 15 yuan per jean, whereas it used to be 8 or 9 yuan per jean. Some vegetables in supermarkets, like eggplants and white radishes, have also risen to over 2 yuan per jean. In summary, in such a small county town, wages and prices are completely mismatched, and life is becoming increasingly difficult.
下去了就。你呢？要不往那边去坐，肩膀、手臂纯90度啊。
The current situation in Zhengzhou may be hard to believe. Many public institutions, large companies, and certain groups have not paid salaries for 6 months. The situation with layoffs is also severe. Some people want to resign but are afraid of not finding a new job and worry about not receiving their wages after leaving. Many people are used to working in the public sector and find it hard to adapt to the private sector work environment. Although many luxurious office buildings look impressive on the outside, many are actually vacant office spaces, and this has been the case for 6 to 10 months, which is quite normal. Now, many companies use shared office models. You can see in places like McDonald's and Starbucks that there are many middle-aged people pretending to work, sitting there with their laptops all day long. The situation in the real estate-related industries is even worse. Leading furniture company Red Star Macaline has already declared bankruptcy, with a debt of 32.5 billion yuan. It used to be said that shopping malls are like iron, while shops come and go, but now it's not surprising for malls to close. This series of events can be seen as a chain reaction caused by the real estate sector. It's best for everyone to save money, spend less, and focus on just getting by.
Even undergraduate students are under immense pressure to survive, to the point where they have no choice but to work in factories. This morning, my cousin told me that he plans to work as an assembly line worker at the BYD factory. He is a graduate of a first-tier university in Changsha with a major in computer science, but he hasn't found a suitable job even after more than 6 months since graduation. The school only offered them some internship opportunities, but when I looked, 80% of them were in factories, with the rest being in sales, live streaming, and similar jobs. The school also asked them to fill out employment registration forms. To put it bluntly, This is just to boost the school's employment rate statistics. They don't care whether the job is good or not. As long as you're employed, they've fulfilled their task. I never thought the situation for college graduates would become so dire. A few days ago, I chatted with a middle school classmate who never even attended high school, but he's already fully paid for a 1.4 million yuan house in Songya Lake. Another classmate entered the workforce at 16, and now he's in the gaming business. Not only did he build a villa, but he also bought a house in the city. Some may say that a degree doesn't equal ability, but I want to say that a degree is, to some extent, a recognition of a person's learning ability, memory, and logical thinking skills. Some people also say that going to college isn't worth it and that it's better to enter the workforce directly than spend hundreds of thousands of yuan on education. Look at those who started working at 16. They are already married with children, have stable careers, and some have even become small business owners. In contrast, those who studied a lot and went to college are drifting in big cities, unmarried, without children, and their jobs could be lost at any time. I really don't understand why society has become like this. It's so confusing.
The average tenure of post-95's young people in China is only 7 months. To be honest, a 7-month tenure is already considered a long time. Nowadays, the employment situation in China is extremely severe. According to the statistical data from a Human Resources Bureau in Shenzhen in 2024, the number of unemployed people in Shenzhen has increased by 40% year-on-year. You must know, a 40% increase means that the number of unemployed people has almost doubled. Such an unemployment rate is indeed very frightening. Now, being unable to find a job has become the norm. Even if it takes a month to find a new job after resigning, this is also a very normal situation. A friend of mine, a graduate from a prestigious university, also took nearly a month to find his current relatively stable job when he was job hunting in May. To be honest, except for jobs within the system, civil servants, or positions with an established status, there are almost no so-called stable jobs anymore. Virtually all positions are unstable. This also explains why the turnover rate among young people is so high now. A high turnover rate is a very normal phenomenon. After all, in the current employment environment, even if you find a job, it may be something you reluctantly accept because there are no other options. This type of job might be both exhausting and low-paying, so people can only endure it for a while. Lasting 7 months is already quite an effort. If the job offers 2 days off per week, or even just 6 days off per month, it might still be somewhat acceptable. But the reality is that most jobs offer only 4 days off per month. Some even have so-called 2 days off per week, which in reality means only 2 days off per month. This 2 days off per week really deserves quotation marks. Working more than 8 hours a day has also become very normal. Many companies require 9, 10, or even 12 hours of work per day. Different industries have different situations, but indeed, this year, the overtime situation in many companies has been very serious, with even so-called voluntary overtime, without any overtime pay. My friend also experienced a situation where there was no overtime pay despite working overtime. Therefore, facing the current employment environment and work intensity, young people are being exploited to such an extent that resigning is completely understandable. Choosing to resign after working for 7 months is perfectly normal. Finally, I want to say to all the young people in China, perhaps you have already given your all for your job, yet still haven't achieved a life of ease. Perhaps you are already over 30, still striving hard for the life of your dreams. Life may not be as smooth as we imagined, but in the face of the challenges that life throws at us, hard work is both the right choice and the pivot for gaining more good fortune. Every person who fights for their life and future, every person who perseveres in pursuing their dreams, deserves respect.